Hey everybody. So, got a question recently about what my training program is. Um, if you've watched the videos, you basically just see the morning sessions. I also have afternoon sessions. So, my training program, just from a how many times a week perspective, is 13. Um, I train 7 days a week, and 6 of those are twice a day. Sunday is just a morning practice session with the team, and then I take the evening off. But to make it a little bit more um, specific, I have uh, kind of a table here of just a template of kind of what I use to train with. So this is just pasted up in my gym just to kind of keep me on track. Um, Normally, this is exactly what I follow. So you can see Monday through Saturday, every morning is max effort. I switch between back pressure and side pressure. And one thing to note is if I start a week with back pressure on Monday, the following week I will start the week on Monday with side pressure. So if it goes back, side, for example, I will the next week I'll go side, back, side, back. Just a way to kind of just keep it fresh and to try to make sure that I'm switching up what exercises I do use. Um, but from an evening perspective, that's the part that doesn't get filmed and doesn't really get talked about as much. So uh, basically 4 days a week, I'm doing some isometrics that are related to the morning session. You can see isometric of AM session up to 80%, 5 to 6 sets. So isometrics to me personally are if I have a full range of motion on an exercise, say I'm dragging back, right? Just simple drag. Um, I take about halfway through that range of motion. So from here to here, if I do about here, that's my halfway point because I still have quite a bit more to go. I take my halfway point and I put a hard stop on it, typically just with a strap. So basically, when I get to that halfway point, I can't move it any further because it's just a hard stop. There's nothing else that's gonna. There's no weight that's stopping me. It's just a force. But with that being said, there is weight tied to my cable, and that's why it says up to 80%. My last set, I will have 80% of my 1 rep max on the weight machine, including that hard stop. So basically, when I get to that hard stop, I need to keep that hard stop tight for I personally like 5 seconds. Good tight strap for 5 seconds with 80%. That's what my final set is. And the sets leading up are just warm up sets, so you can kind of choose whatever jumps you want to make along the way. Those isometric training sessions are not particularly difficult. They're not easy, but they're not maximum level effort at all. I say 5 to 6 sets because if my exercise is something that I can't move a ton of weight in, and my can't move a ton of weight definition for myself is if it's under 100 pounds, I do 6 sets. If I can move over 100 pounds in the exercise, I only do 5 sets. I'm getting a lot of work piling on to something that's already pretty high at this point. I'm not sure how much better or worse it would be. So I just try to stick to that rule for myself. And then after that, I usually take like a 5 minute break, just get some water. And then you can see the last portion of my evening workouts basically just goes back and forth between volume or dynamic. So volume is just reps, and then dynamic you can replace with speed. So it's a speed day. I'll link Todd Hutchings' YouTube channel in this video. He has some really good examples of what speed day looks like. He has some pretty damn good examples of what volume day looks like too. But that's basically what I do as well. So for volume for myself, volume to me is 2 sets of 25, between 25 and 30% of my 1 rep max. So when I say between 25 and 30%, literally what I do is I take 25% of my 1 rep max, and that's set one, and then I take 30%, and that's set two. And those volume sessions are quite easy. You get a little bit of a burn, you get a pump, but you don't get sore, and you don't. It's not difficult. But it's very nice to get a full range movement, nice, smooth, steady, it's all good for you. And speed day, is the same. I try to make sure that I'm moving as fast as I possibly can with perfect form on whatever exercise I'm doing. The load is only 40 to 50% of my 1 rep max, so it's pretty light. But with that being said, speed day is helped out quite a bit by some band tension. So I always put bands on. I really try to accelerate through those bands. The bands to me actually make the movement less painful. It's almost like you're hitting into a pillow. That's kind of how I describe how it feels. But if you can accelerate through that band pressure, as the band stretches, it increases the load. If I can maintain my speed through that band, when you take that band off, you will accelerate. So it's a really good training method to push that speed and just really generate force. Currently, for myself, I'm not doing any speed work. I'm doing all volume and all 1 rep max. Reason for me, I'm kind of just like experimenting right now with it. I just kind of think I might need a little bit more musculature overall. So I'm just trying to pile on some volume rather than just speed. So I might do that for like 4 to 6 weeks just to see what happens and potentially go back. But these templates, that's what they are. They're templates. You can adjust as needed, and they're definitely not perfect. This is not set in stone. But with that being said, really the rest of the week looks pretty much the same except for Saturday. So Saturday morning is, 1 rep max day. But the evening goes straight to volume. So volume is easy. Like it's not hard. And then I take a bit of a break, and then I go to bench. So my bench work is also not very hard. It's really just to make sure that I'm not neglecting it, right? So all the bicep and back work that we do in arm wrestling, it's really nice to get some tricep and chest work in there just to get some of the balance in your body. So Saturday evening, although it's definitely not off, it's easy. So it kind of sets up my Sunday morning practice to be a little bit easier. At the very top, it basically just explains that max effort should cycle between back and side, but also that rehab is done 3 to 4 times a week. So rehab, to my definition, is basically all movements that relate to arm wrestling and all movements that are opposite to arm wrestling. So, all the normal stuff like your bicep work, your wrist work, all that stuff is, if you're doing it at a very low intensity, full range of motion with perfect form, we're talking about getting blood into the area to build it back up so we can basically push it hard again. But one thing that's not talked about enough in any sport, and I think, is if you're piling on a bunch of work into an area, you should really be hitting the opposites as well. Hit those triceps, reverse curls, open those fingers up, external rotation of the shoulder. We do a lot of internal rotation, hit that external. Someone who has had the shoulder surgery that has changed my career, I really wish I would have taken care of the opposites earlier. So it doesn't take very long. It's not very exciting though, but it doesn't take long, but you will feel much better hitting those opposites and hitting that rehab work. Rehab work, you're not looking for PRs, right? You're just looking for pressures and you're looking for blood flow. That's all. So maybe a little bit more detail about max effort day. You can kind of see it in the videos that I post, but I'll explain. So what you don't get to see in those videos is the warm-up. So my warm-up for max day is very, very straightforward. I pick a weight that's super comfortable to move. So I'll say my maximum on a lift is 100 pounds, just to make the math easy. My goal for the day is 101 pounds, because guess what? 1 pound matters. So my max is 100, my goal is 101. What my day would look like in terms of my warm-ups and my jumps, I'm not looking to get a lot of volume in on max effort morning. I'm looking to get a new PR. So with that being said, I might pick 30 or 35 pounds for my first set, and I'm gonna hit it for 6 reps. Okay, so just 6 clean reps, just to get the pressures on, just to get my muscles and my tendons woken up, get the motor pattern going. Make sure you're doing things the right way, the best that you possibly can, because if you do things the right way leading up, that you end up the right way most likely. It's max effort, and listen, we all want to lift more weight. It ain't gonna be perfect, but if your warm-ups look nothing like your end movement, come on. So 35 pounds I start with. The goal is 101, so I would probably jump to 60 or 65 pounds, and I would hit a set of 5. Now this set should be a bit tougher. Like, you should feel that weight. You should be moving that weight and really having to focus on keeping everything together, making sure everything's moving, and it should be somewhat difficult. Okay. So then my third set of warm up, and really I only do 3 sets of warm up. My third set is going to be probably, if I want to hit 101, it's probably going to be 80 pounds, but I'm only going to hit it for 2. So we're talking about a weight that's, we're at 80%. So we're at a legitimate weight for our body, wherever it's at that point where we can lift 100. And I'm going to hit it for 2. And I'm going to hit it for 2 as best and cleanly as I possibly can, just to kind of set up my body to understand what we're doing for that morning. And then once I hit my 2, I'm going to take a bit of a break, probably 4 or 5 minutes, get some, sip some coffee, just, kind of chill out, make sure that when I step back up, I'm ready to go. In terms of I'm warmed up, but I'm not tired, I'm not fatigued. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a single, but it's going to be lower than my current PR. So I want to hit a good crisp single, but it's got to be very difficult still. So I would probably load on 92 pounds, right? So I'm 8 pounds away from my PR, and I'm 9 pounds away from my goal, but it's close enough where I'm going to feel that weight. So load up 92, hit it for a single. So that's the start of my singles. I typically do 4 sets of 1. So 4 singles in the morning. Not very little volume. We're not looking for volume, we're looking for output. So I'd hit my 92, and then if that goes well, which it definitely should, you should always be able to hit 92% of your max. I'm loading up 101, and I'm giving myself that good 4 or 5 minute break, making sure that, if I'm thirsty, I have something to drink, and yeah, going for it. If you hit the PR, cool. If you don't, but it's close, gather yourself back up. If it's not even close, then, that's the beauty of fractional plates. You should probably invest in some. Put on 100 pounds in 1/2. I don't care. Just trying to get more than I had before. But if you do end up hitting the PR, and depending on how difficult it was, if you think you have some more in the tank, then load it up some more. Like I said, I typically stop at 4 sets. So even if I were to PR 3 times, which really doesn't happen anymore, on my 4th set, I would call it a day. There's no reason to just keep killing it, because it's going to detract from the rest of your training. But that's kind of how my philosophy is. I just try to hit 4 singles. Every once in a while, if I really just think, man, if I just focus and stuff, I'll go for 5, but it's very rare. So yeah, that's really my philosophies. And with that being said, this is a program that if you're newer, this is way too much work to do. So I do have some templates here for a beginner, which obviously looks a little bit more sparse, but really if you break this down, if this is a beginner who practices twice a week or once a week, there's 12 sessions here where you're going to be working. So it's definitely not easy. You just see a lot more of the word rehab in here. So again, rehab is just anything, either what you're doing on the arm wrestling table or opposite. So really it's just training, easy training. As a beginner, you need a good foundation first. We need to build a good foundation. You need to get accustomed to the sport because the sport hurts. And then once you graduate out of that initial period of pain and adaptation, we can start adding strength to it. It's very difficult to do all of it at once. So this is what a beginner's program I would have them start. You have a day of volume, day of dynamic, and a max effort day. So for this, you're only going to pick one movement a week. You have some isometrics in there depending on if you go to practice or not. So yeah, just a lot more straightforward. And then there's an intermediate program that I've written up as well. And again, like I don't want anybody to think that these are like in stone programs. They're just templates. They're just suggestions. But the intermediate, you get to choose basically a back pressure and a side pressure exercise for the week, and you can see there's volume, dynamic, and max effort for both, and it kind of accounts for if you practice once or twice a week. So yeah, I will attach the link to the PDF for this if anybody wants it. Hopefully this helps somebody out there. I know it was requested. If anybody has any more questions or anything, just post them in the comments and I'll do what I can to answer them. Thanks.